So I'm going to show you guys some of the most common functions that you'll be using in Python related to numbers. The first one is called ABS, and it stands for absolute value. So we can get the absolute value of a number. And so over here, I'm just going to make this variable -5. And basically I can just say ABS, and I can make an open and close parentheses over here. And this is going to give me the absolute value of this number up here. So when I click the play button, you'll see it's just giving us 5 because 5 is the absolute value of -5. I can use a few other functions. There's another one which is called POW. It's just POW. And I'm actually not going to use this variable. We just use a normal number. And this function is going to allow us to pass it 2 pieces of information. So I can give this function 2 pieces of information. The first is going to be like a number, and the second is going to be the power that I want to take that number to. So I could say like 3, 2, and this is basically just going to be 3 raised to the power of 2. So it's just going to be 3 squared, so we should get 9 down here. You can see that we do. So I could pass in like, you know, some crazy number, like we could pass in a 4 and we could raise it to the power of 6. And so we should get like a pretty big number here. And you can see we get 4,096. So this POW function is really useful for taking numbers to specific powers. So in addition to using this POW function, we can also use another function which is called max. So I can say max. And what this is going to do is it's basically going to return the larger of the 2 numbers that we pass into it. So right now I'm giving this a 4 and a 6, and this should tell us which number is higher. So over here it's just printing out 6 because that's the bigger number. I can also use another function called min, and this is going to do the opposite. So now instead of printing out the max number, it's going to print out the smallest number, and it's going to print out 4 down here, as you can see. Another cool function is called the round function, and this is going to allow us to round a number. So it's just going to follow like standard rounding rules. So if I said like 3.2 inside of here, now it's going to round it down to just normal 3. But if I said like 3.7, it's going to round it up to 4. So that'll allow you to round a number. So there's a few other functions that I want to show you guys, but in order to get access to them, I'm actually going to have to do something called importing. And in Python, we can actually import external code into our files. And so if I want to access these specific math functions, I have to import something called Python math. I can just say from up here, math, import, and this star. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to grab a bunch of different math functions that we can use. So I already showed you guys a few of these different math functions, but there's actually a bunch more. And in order to access them, we're going to need to include this line of code inside of our file. So once we have that, now I can access a few others. So there's another function which is called the floor method, and it's just floor. And what this will do is it'll basically just grab the lowest number. So it's essentially just going to chop off this decimal point. And you can see over here now we get a 3 because we're using that floor function. There's also another one called ceil, and that's just going to do the exact opposite. So that's just going to round the number up no matter what. So no matter what, we'll always get 4 if we have a 3 point whatever here. And there's another one which is called square root. So it's just sqrt. And essentially this is just going to return the square root of a number. So I could say like 36, and now we should get 6 back. So those are all some very interesting functions. And inside of this math module, so we would call this a module. And you don't have to worry too much about what that is right now. Just know that when we put this line of code into our program, it gives us access to a lot more math documentation on all of this stuff. So you can just look up, math functions in Python, and there's going to be tons and tons, like lists of these things that you can use inside of your programs to perform different math operations. But for now, that's just been a little bit about using numbers, a little bit about